Everyone, welcome to Ferrilli YouTube Live. I'm one of your hosts. My name is Rich Murray. I have been with Ferrilli for just under a year, but I've got over 20 years of higher experience in the technology area. If you count my postgraduate professional experience, I worked for a small private college for 3 years and then a medium-sized public school for 7 years. So there's another 10 years there. And then my undergrad experience in higher ed was close to 10 years. So that's a lot of years in higher ed for me.
Hi, I'm Leah Kegley. I'm your other host. I've been with Verrilli for 5 years now, and I also have about 25 years experience in higher education, working for colleges and universities and also consulting firms. If you are unfamiliar with Verrilli, let me tell you that we are a company of higher education professionals who provide technical services and support to colleges and universities across the United States. Our offerings range from custom solutions to interim staffing, project work, system administration services. But today we're here to present to you a single solution that could have a major impact on your school's degree completion rates and overall student success. This is the Automated Degree and Certificate Evaluator. So the problem that we were trying to solve is that a student may inadvertently earn a certificate or another degree at some point during their studies. And schools may wish to notify the students of the opportunity to gain these credentials when the coursework warrants it, whether or not the student specifically applied to a particular program. For instance, a CNA certificate could be earned during a nursing program. And I'm sure you can think of many other examples in many other disciplines. Since schools don't typically search their student base and try to find students who may have completed requirements for alternative degrees. And students don't typically spend their evenings reviewing your catalog to figure out whether they might have met the requirements for another degree. We have created this process, the Automated Degree and Certificate Evaluator, to fill that gap and let schools and students know when additional credentials can be awarded.
And Leah, I was one of those students who did not look at my catalog. I had been in my undergrad for a few years, and I was in one of the academic buildings, and my philosophy prof came up to me and was like, you need to be close to getting your degree, right? I'm like, I'm not I'm not signed up for, at least not a philosophy degree. He's like, follow me. We went into his office and he broke out the catalog and looked at my transcripts, and yeah, sure enough, I had been taking enough classes that earned me a degree. And I had no idea and would have not had any idea if I hadn't had that chance encounter with the professor in the hallway. So this was before the days of obviously of AutoGrad. So that's one of the real life things that AutoGrad can do.
So in addition to the schools, or excuse me, to the students' personal success in being awarded another credential, your school also can benefit from an increased completion rate by uh, putting your school in a better standing for ranking purposes. And also, if your school receives state funding, it could increase the amount of money that your school receives through the state for completion rates. So this is a sample form that we will create using Colleague Studio on your system. And this UI form shows the standard baseline product that we would deliver, although other options and customizations are available.
All right, so how does all this work? And the first thing I want to say is that AutoGrad is built with the processes that are inherent in degree audit. So degree audit is required in order to have AutoGrad. The other thing I would like to mention, and this is optional, is a Ferrilli offering called Solution Assurance. And what Solution Assurance does is if a Lucian delivers a change, in the case of AutoGrad, if a Lucian delivers a change to some component of degree audit, maybe they add an argument to one of the subroutines used in degree audit, that might affect the processing of AutoGrad because AutoGrad uses the same behind the scenes processes that degree audit does. What Solution Assurance says is that we will bring AutoGrad up to specs, the most recent specs delivered by a Lucian for degree audit. So it protects your purchase should there be any changes to the underlying processes of degree audit. Another option that comes with Solution Assurance, if there are features and enhancements that we develop specifically for AutoGrad, you are eligible for those features and enhancements. And I'm going to talk about one of them in a future slide, but that's another little benefit to having Solution Assurance. So now, how does it work? The UI form that we just took a look at is divided into 3 sections. We want to select a group of students to run through the AutoGrad process. So we have a section on the form for the selection of the students. We want to run those students through a set of academic programs. So we have an academic program selection section. And then there's the AutoGrad report options to detail what you want to happen with the report output.
So the selection of students is first on the form, and there are several options available for this category. The process will select the students who are enrolled for the term that you enter. And then optionally, you can enter a saved list of student IDs that you have handpicked. You can choose students who are enrolled in a single academic program that you would specify here. Or if your college has different programs at different locations, different campuses or something, you may want to only process one location code, one campus at a time. So these parameters help isolate the group of students that you want evaluated for this run of AutoGrad.
Next up is the academic program selection. So we've got this group of students from section 1. Now we want to take that group of students and run them through a set of academic programs. And there's a lot going on here, so I'm just going to take this row by row. So the first option under the academic program selection parameters is the students' active academic programs. So that's just a yes/no flag. If you set that to yes, you'll take the group of students that you have in section 1 and you will run them through their active academic program, just theirs. Optionally, you can ignore that one and move right over to the catalog year and enter a catalog year. So for example, 2019. That will open up these other options below. The first one being select the academic programs in the catalog year 2019 that also match a location or a degree type or an academic program type. If you don't like that option, there's also, you can select the individual academic programs that you want to run those students through. That's the third option down here, use selected academic programs. And here's one of those enhancements that I was talking about with Solution Assurance, this clear option. So it's relatively easy to add in a bunch of academic programs in this window. You can do a lookup and select, easily select 100 academic programs. What's not as easy for future runs of AutoGrad is to delete those from the window. And especially if there's 100, geez, you're looking at, clicking on each one and doing a delete. So we incorporated this clear button. If you set that to yes, all that does is clear the entries from this one specific window so that you can start off with a clean slate. The final option, so again, you've entered a catalog year, say 2019. You can do all of the all of the academic programs from that catalog year. That is the most wide open running. You're taking this group of students that you've selected and running them through every academic program in that catalog year.
Then the last section of the UI form is the evaluation and report options. This section gives you the choice to view students with a program completion code of C, which would be complete, P for pending, or B for both. So if the student has completed all of the requirements for a specific academic program, the code that's returned is a C for complete, and choosing C will only show the students who have completed all of the requirements. If you choose P for pending, you will see students who will have completed all of the requirements for the academic program if they successfully complete all of the coursework that they're currently enrolled in. If you select B for both, you'll see both sets of students on the same report, but there will be an indicator of whether they have completed or they are pending complete. The coursework to include is the same parameters that you've probably seen before on eval or bevel. C is for complete. That means only consider the coursework that is already graded and the student has finished. I for in progress means include the coursework that the student is currently enrolled in and attending classes in. R for registered is coursework that hasn't started yet. So this just tells the evaluator which courses to include when you're evaluating whether or not the requirements have been met for that program. The second two fields are for communication codes, and you can enter separate communication codes here, one for completed and one for pending statuses on those programs, so that you can send a different letter to students who have completed it saying, congratulations, you have completed the requirements for an additional certificate or an additional degree that you didn't know you were getting. Also, you could send the pending email saying, if you just complete all the coursework that you're currently in with satisfactory grades, you would be eligible to receive these additional credentials. And the final field is update mode, where you can select yes to update the database with student programs and graduates records, or you can select no to just run this in report mode, view the results before you actually affect the database records.
Yeah, Leah, that is my favorite option on this whole AutoGrad processing. Update mode no is all of the functionality. You're going to see exactly what would have happened, yet none of the responsibility for making changes to the database. I just absolutely love that option.
Very nice. It's almost as good as the undo button.
Very close, very close. All right, I just want to show you a couple of options we've been talking about. It's easy to customize this AutoGrad process for your business needs. And here's a front end form where there's only one communication code entry available. So what we did is we combined into one letter both pending and complete programs. I call this option the one letter to rule them all. And it's an option, right? Um, there's another option here to save the graduate's list name. So if you enter a list name, it'll save graduate record IDs so that you can use that later on anytime you are prompted for a list of graduates. So that's one option. I have another one here, slightly different. Again, just highlighting the customability of this process. A client wanted a place to enter in majors and then draw the academic programs related to those majors and then run the students through those. So put that on the form, they enter in the major, and we draw the academic programs. Another little twist on this one is to include the GPAs required to receive honors and the threshold for receiving highest honors. And that is nice because it is affecting the background processing of AutoGrad. AutoGrad is able to evaluate whether the student is able to receive honors or highest honors. And it's also output that we can put on the report as well for a visual confirmation. So again, just some options for customizing the AutoGrad process.
So how long does it take? Long. Depending on the criteria you entered, it could potentially run for 24 hours or more, depending on the number of students that you selected, which is why we put parameters around which students go into the selection. We don't want to run this against your whole student file, all of the students in your database. Also the number of academic programs that you selected. So if you select every program in your catalog and run it against every student in a specified term, it's going to take significantly longer than if you enter a saved list of 100 students and run it against a list of 10 academic programs, for example. So what goes into the evaluation has a direct bearing on how long it takes to run this. And also the efficiency of your degree audit syntax plays a part as well. If you're using rules repeatedly throughout the syntax in a specific sequence, instead of maybe putting them at the top of of the logic. It depends on how many times it has to evaluate the same rule, how many computed columns are in there, and that kind of thing. So in order to manage this longer runtime, we recommend that you run it in phantom mode in the background using the process handler, and use the email option to email the report to yourself when it's finished. So when you set this up to run in background mode, your UI screen returns to you so that you can continue with your daily work. And you'll know when the process is finished because the email will pop up in your inbox and have the report attached for you. And then you wait for it. The email report will be in CSV format if that's what you prefer. Most clients do because it's easily opened in Microsoft Excel and you can manipulate the data from there. In this sample report that we're showing, the data is scrambled to protect PII, but you'll see the student ID number in the first column and then the last first and middle names. And the next column is the diploma name. And this is what is written to the graduates file, and it's the name that will appear on the student's diploma. The next columns are for academic program and catalog year. So this shows the academic program that was evaluated for this student and the catalog year used for the requirements associated with that program for that year. So for example, on the third student down, you can see that the year 2008 was used instead of 2017. 2017 being the year that was entered on the front end form, where this student already had declared that they were pursuing this certificate. So the catalog year that was already on the student programs record was used in this case because that's what the student had already signed up for. If there is no student programs record existing, that's when the catalog year from the front end form comes into play. So the next field is the completion status, or excuse me, the next column is the completion status of C for completed or a P for pending. And then the final column tells you whether this is a new program for the student or if they had already declared that they were seeking this degree.
I really like all the news that are showing up in that final column, because that's essentially me with the degree that the my prof helped me with. So
Absolutely.
that's that's super cool. All those news. Another variation on the report. It's, you know, it's got the student ID, last name, first name, middle name, diploma, all that stuff. But we can customize the form to meet your business needs. So including the graduate's ID, which is made up of the student's ID and the academic program, basically, you know, two columns that are already present. We can put that on the report. It makes it easy for you to manipulate that through Excel, create save lists, do whatever you want with it. Uh, Similarly, including the degree needed for honors, or actually what the GPA was, and then if that qualified them for honors or highest honors. One of my favorite pieces, though, is we include essentially in the header and footer of the AutoGrad report the parameters that you entered in on the front end form. So if you're familiar with a troubleshooting mnemonic called UTRR in Colleague, that is reruns a process, and it gives you information about exactly what was entered on the front end form and what was done. This is included in the AutoGrad report, either in the header or the footer. So I really like that option as well.
So now what? When this process completes, you can run the GDAU report, which is the uh, graduate audit report delivered by Lucian, and it will allow you to view the information that exists in the student programs records and the graduates records, as long as you ran AutoGrad in update mode, because doing so will create those records that didn't previously exist. You can then adjust those records using SGRD or GADJ. Also, Ellucian delivered processes that let you manipulate the data that's in the graduates file before you run the final processing, which is done through the UACF form, the Ellucian delivered process to create the academic credentials records. So to fully graduate them after you run AutoGrad in update mode, you must run UACF to complete the process. Additionally, if you entered communication codes on the front end form to send emails to students who have completed degrees or are pending complete or certificates, you can now run PCEX or PCB to send those emails to the students, and the email that goes out to the student, because of the way that we have created the LETREC records during the AutoGrad process, you'll be able to, through a computed column in your letter setup, you'll be able to tell the student exactly which certificate or degree that they have qualified for.
And imagine their faces, or imagine my face when my prof told me I was getting this degree that I had no idea I was getting. I was honestly, genuinely stoked for that. So that's a good thing. Um, the proof is in the pudding, and I'm not going to read all these, but they fall into one of two categories. The benefit to the student, which we've talked about, all those new programs, all the happy faces being issued degrees or certificates that they didn't know they were getting, but improved efficiency, saving money for the institution. Um, as Leah mentioned earlier, if there's a change in the funding model, that's based on awarded certificates or awarded degrees. AutoGrad is helping with that. So just some, you know, some quick statistics kind of backing up that AutoGrad does do a good job at what it does.
Right. So for schools, especially in California and Texas, that I know for sure, where the state funding model was recently changed to figure in your school's completion rate into how much money the school receives from the state, it really has made a large impact for especially the school that in California where they were able to award 500 additional certificates or degrees on just one of their campuses. They receive a certain amount of money from the state for each one of those that was granted. So AutoGrad pays for itself over and over again, but the very first time you use it for schools where they're that are tied to state funding in those terms, um, it can pay for itself almost immediately. So for more information about the Automated Degree and Certificate Evaluator or any of Ferrilli's offerings, please contact us at 888-864-3282 or visit our website at ferrilli.com. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, everybody.